the heat is on for Kyle Shanahan. It already was on. This was a bad loss on Sunday Night Football against the Colts. It was a bad loss.
I think one issue right now people are just going to have with him, when you are, and listen, like Kyle's style is not yeller and screamer on the sideline at players. Like that's when he was going well, he was known as his players coach, guys responded to him. The problem is when it doesn't work, I do understand with a lot of people that just go, he just looks lifeless. He looks like he doesn't want to be there because he is not going to go Parcells and scream at people. And Andy isn't either. Like if you watch the Chiefs game today, Andy is not screaming at any players as they, I mean, you think the Niners got their ass kicked. The Chiefs got fucking ruined. Andy doesn't yell at a soul. Do you know what the difference is though? Every Chiefs fan goes, you know the best 8 years of my life has been? Since Andy Reid has been the head coach. Do you know the sweetest years of my life have been these last 3 with Andy Reid as he's taking me to the Super Bowl? So it's like, people are just, you're going to be mad as a fan, but you understand. It sucks. I think people go, Kyle, well, Kyle, you have the 1 year to build off, but we have seen so much shitty football under your watch. What is going on? What is going on? And I think a lot of people right now are just at a loss, right? Just simply at a loss. Because it feels like this guy, this boy wonder that had all this control, you just watch his team now, and it just is out of control. It just doesn't feel like, and he doesn't get credit for like Bosa kicking ass, right? Because you know he has nothing to do with it. But it's like his offense consistently just stalls. And then just as the game goes, I hate to go back to this, but his body language is just so shitty. It's just terrible. He's got terrible? Awful fucking body language.
To me, his body language is the same as always. Like his body language is not the problem here. His body language is not the problem.
Well, yeah, when he's winning, he's usually kind of into the game. He to me, he just looks like
winning,
he would be anywhere else.
Well, what is there to be excited about?
Well, I don't know. Scream at somebody. I just think a lot of people. Okay. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It just feels like he does not want to be there right now. That's the body language he's giving off.
I don't know. His body language looks the same to me. It's always to me his body language. He looked like that when he was in Atlanta. He just always looks miserable.
Yeah, when you start losing with high expectations, it pisses people off. And listen, my point is he's not going to scream at anybody, but it's just I understand where people go like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, but to me, what the fuck's going on has to do with the way his team looks, not his body language. His team looks.
Well, that's sloppy. What I'm saying. So people go, he's just like they are miserable. It's like, well, your team do something, yank someone out of the game. I don't know, try something.
Ayuk's in his doghouse. People want him on the field, so they put him on the field. He doesn't do anything.
Well, he doesn't throw on the ball.
I mean, I don't know. He lets him return punts. That's an opportunity.
Well, they don't have a choice. Like who else are they going to put back there?
Okay, I'm just saying he's on punt return, didn't make a play.
But you have to admit tonight, no one's making a play on special teams. Everyone's slipping for their life.
Of course, I'm just saying, like you want him to yell at somebody, so he puts Ayuk in the doghouse. You want him to play Ayuk. The problem is not body language. The problem is they look awful. That's the problem.
I don't necessarily give a shit that he doesn't yell at anyone. I'm just saying I understand where people look at him, and I'm getting a million texts from just random fans, even people at the game, like, what is this guy doing? What is Kyle doing right now?
Well, and that's the primary issue, right? Is that there's no benefit of the doubt here at this point, right? When it was easy in years past. You go, okay, this is year one, taking over for Chip Kelly. Okay, you got Garoppolo. Now it's about to roll. Okay, Super Bowl. Okay, Garoppolo's hurt. You know, but you stack up each individual year had some context, but at a certain point, you got to stack up all those wins and losses and go, there are way more losses than there are wins. And this is a must-win game in a desperate situation at home against a team that's also in a desperate situation in a driving rainstorm. And
well, because it's one of those situations, right? Like if you get crazy wins in a golf tournament and you're Rory McIlroy and you go, I shot 78, fucking crazy ass wins. And you're like, well, Rory, the 5 other groups right around you, the average score was 68. Like that's a you problem, right? You're watching the Colts, you're going, well, they're playing in this situation too, right? They are operating in these conditions. Every player in this game and coach is operating in what, is the equivalent for us as like a tornado. Did you see the thing on the Richmond Bridge? A big rig flipped over because of the wind. Like it was crazy. Like for us, this is like hurricane level. It's outrageous, right? I mean, it's been you and I looking out my window. It's been nuts today. So I understand like the offense No one, and it was clear early on, like I didn't expect Kyle, even if he got down, to dial up 350 yards worth of passing plays. Wentz threw for 150, Jimmy threw for 180. If you could have got to 200, that would be fine, right? That it was understood, and you're going to have to run the ball, and they both ran for over 100 yards. Colts ran for a little more. But like the Colts were consistently doing things. The Niners have a major weakness. They commit pass interferences unlike anything the league has ever seen. I don't know what the record is, but they are on pace, I'm sure, to
At least
shatter.
everyone's got a single digit, John. That looks cool.
So Frank, who is a former quarterback and widely known as one of the main reasons the Eagle won the Super Bowl, and I think viewed for the most part, I know it's gone a little weird this year, as a really good head coach, and he's also the play caller, kept dialing up go routes, and it fucking worked. And you're watching Kyle, like after the first couple drives, like, what are we doing here? Like, you are this offensive genius. I say that in quotes right now. Because, again, I don't think Kyle forgot anything. But back to my premise from probably before the bye, you can be really good at something, right? Think how many actors just choose terrible movies, right? Think how many great players just have a down year. And it happens in baseball a lot. I do believe that it can happen in football. For whatever reason, your message doesn't resonate. For whatever reason, maybe you lose a little confidence. And then it bleeds into just your confidence on the play calls. And it's also could be, predicated by the players you have, even though that gets to the overall thing. Like, there's not a player on this roster that he didn't choose, right? We often said that with Gruden. It's like, well, by year 3 or 4, you don't get to complain about any players. You handpick this roster.
Yeah, if we go back several months into the offseason and to discussions we had about concerns about the roster, cornerback was a very big and legitimate concern on this team. For a variety of reasons, one of which was, depending on guys to have repeat seasons that they haven't had before. And in particular, a healthy season from a player who's only had one healthy season. And guess what? Not healthy. So, right, Jason Verrett.
Yeah.
So there are issues. Some are play calling, some are roster building, but both fall under some are player management. They all fall under his umbrella. And I do wonder if part of it, and this goes back to your point about, yell at somebody, you're not necessarily advocating yell at somebody. You're just saying that criticism represents something. And I think you're right in that I think I mentioned on the podcast a week or two ago, I was talking to a buddy of mine who works in baseball about Gabe Kapler. This is back when things were going well when the Giants were still playing. And I was like, well, all these guys manage off a spreadsheet. Like, I was talking to a Dodger fan yesterday, like, we got to fire Dave Roberts. I'm like, and get somebody else to read the same spreadsheet Dave's managing off of? What's the difference? So I said to this guy, what is it, like, out of curiosity, not being snarky, like, what is it that Kapler does exactly if everyone's working off the same spreadsheet? And he's like, kind of matter of fact, he's like, well, he manages people. That's a part of the job. And I wonder, that's the unseen part of a coach's job by and large, is managing people. And you got to wonder, are the people being managed properly? Because there are good players on the team. That's separate from the cornerbacks discussion. And the team it's not performing. Now, I do think at times I watch like the defensive front and I go, those guys are doing their job. Like, those guys are bringing it. And Elijah Mitchell's bringing it. And Debo is bringing it. Right? There are a lot of guys, but like, I don't know if you agree with this or not. I don't watch them and think like as a group, they're not bringing it. Do you think that?
I do not. And
I don't either.
But the effort hasn't been the issue. I was about to say, like, and I remember having a nickname, and DeMeco Ryan, since he was in college, his nickname was Coach. That's what he got called when he was a player at Alabama. He's a really high level guy. And I actually think, beside the DBs, he's a middle linebacker. His front seven, and you text me mid-game, you're like, their front seven's bringing it, right? They're playing their ass off. They might miss a couple tackles, but 51's getting better. We can say what you want about Warner. He still makes more than enough plays. Every team in the league, beside like a couple, would die to have him. And even though like the Colts would take him in a heartbeat, they would just have all three guys on the field, right?
I mean, Josh Norman had some issues, but he forced 2 fumbles in the game too.
Yeah, exactly.
One, no one noticed.
They have a fundamental flaw that's a personnel flaw, not a DeMeco Ryan flaw. But DeMeco is a first-time defensive coordinator. He has never been the voice of the entire unit. And just, it's not an easy spot for him, even though he's known Kyle since he was a young player at Houston. Robert Saleh, did just have, it felt in a way like he was like a little Draymond Greeny to their coaching staff, like just kind of the heartbeat of it, even though Kyle was like the brains of it. Like if Kyle was the Splash Bros, he was the Draymond Green guy. Now, I do think it feels like I'm diminishing D'Amico, who I'm really impressed with. Like I think D'Amico's been more than serviceable, and clearly, again, nickname coach. He played at Alabama. Now it was pre-Saban, but I was in Philly when we traded for him. A huge reason we traded for him was character and smarts. Like he is a high-level guy, and I think he can one day become like what Robert, just that juice of it, even though his personality I think is a little different than
You're
Saleh's.
saying they miss Saleh the guy.
I'm just saying they did lose Saleh and LaFleur. Like those two guys played pretty big roles. LaFleur was with Kyle for a decade. Like it's just hard. I think we just plug and play. I don't know if it's been as easy to plug and play. Like Kyle, you do need help. He's clearly not fucking Belichick where he can just do everything on his own. Right? Not every guy is just ready to just take the next step. And Mike McDaniel, same deal. He's been there forever. He's fine. Like I'm not questioning his, but they're like he can't just do everything, right? He was always there with LaFleur, and they did things together. Now someone had to fill that guy's role. It's just tough, It's just hard for any young coach. It's why I give a ton of credit to Sean McVay. When he replaced Wade Phillips, he went and got Brandon Staley. I was like, Jesus. Now,
and then he had to replace him again. He got Raheem Morris.
And I'm giving Kyle credit here for having D'Amico on the staff ready to go. But it's like the offense, I do think Kyle just needs some, and this is what's hard. Like back to what we were talking about at the top. Football coaching is much closer to like an insurance office or just a normal office. Now, it's more, people still get screamed at probably more than normal office settings. But it's not physical. It's all mental. So Kyle is the boss. So you can get mad at your boss, anyone listening to this, whatever you're doing, right? Whatever job you have, a sales job, you work at a car dealership, whatever. You can want to do something. But ultimately, if that guy tells you to do something, unless you're a malcontent and want to get fired, you do have to listen to him. So it's why when people always say, like, it does start with the head coach, it's because, like in football, like the backup can shove a guy, right? At practice or whatever, and you can like physically intimidate. But in coaching, you work in offices, So ultimately, it starts with Kyle. And back to what you were saying about the messaging, managing people, it can't really be argued something's a little bit off because you could say, well, hey, a couple weeks ago, Arizona, the rookie quarterback, I get it, shit happens. This one, you can't be like, the Colts. It was like the 06 Colts rolling into town. Like, no, I mean, you should be able to beat this team. And they were there to be beat. But the fucking 49ers didn't know what they were doing on offense for the majority of the game. I mean, the offense, I didn't write it down, but it felt like they had like 6 or 7 straight series where they were 3 and out. I mean, it was bad after that first drive. Now, one was a Debo fumble, but for the most part, they were not moving the ball. And I get it. The rain was pouring. But the Colts, they weren't moving the ball necessarily with plays, but they were moving it with pass interferences. Like they had an identity of what to do to make things happen. It felt like the Niners did not.
Niners
in that condition.
Niners got the Wentz, the Wentz ball, right?
The
3 and out,
catch.
3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. 3 and out, but like you said, the third was a fumble. But he wasn't getting to the first down marker anyway, so that was going to be a 3 and out. Right, the Debo fumble.
He was 2 yards short.
They just had the penalty, so it was a 3rd and 15, and then they went 3 and let's head to the locker room, fellas. Remember the Super Bowl, and let's pack it in. Which I'm shocked. You tweeted it. I'm watching this game, going, why is Frank Reich not calling a timeout to at least get the ball back and let his guy with a huge arm throw a 60-yard bomb at worst?
Well, did you watch Mitch?
Jimmy, because Kyle was not going to force the ball down the field.
But here's the other thing. I watched Mitch on one of the punts. He caught the ball against his body, and I don't blame him. I think he was a little nervous trying to hand catch it, like it might slip. So he would catch it against his body, like they teach you, in high school football with the wide receivers, not to do as a wide receiver. But I think he knows, like, I can't afford to have this thing fly off and go in the back of the end zone to get a safety. I was like, Frank, call the timeouts. Just force them to at least punt it. Who knows? In this condition, they muff the snap. It goes haywire. I thought the Niners got bailed out there. Yeah. I follow some Colts people that were like, this is kind of crazy. Why is Frank
thought it was
waving the white flag?
Although I guess if you're Frank, you're like, I don't want to fumble a punt return and give them the ball at like our 20 and let them. I don't know. Maybe that's what he was
Which
thinking.
was probably his logic, right?
Because
Why
he's
even
going,
mess
I'm
with
getting
it?
the ball first. I have the lead, and I'm getting the ball first in the second half. The only way I don't have the lead at halftime is if we screw something up here.
Well, you know what I would do then? I wouldn't even put a guy back there. I would just try to block the punt, wouldn't you? Who cares?
Yeah,
if
you could do that.
Even if you take out the punter, it's still
guess.
20 seconds left.
Yeah. Jimmy
not
was
like
not
Kyle
going
was-
to get the ball down the field.
No,